Hello everyone, Paul from Taming Technology here, and I hope you're doing well. I know I'm like you, I am sick to death of hearing about GDPR. The last few weeks have been, well, let's say, pretty chaotic in all honesty on this side of things, probably the same with you. Running about like a headless chicken, trying to make sure your site was ready for the deadline, which was last night. I put my privacy policy and all the other stuff that I covered in last week's video in place last week sometime. However, now, in the last 48 hours, the goal was to try and find a plugin that was going to be suitable for basically being compliant from the website point of view. Now, before I go any further, I'm just going to make sure that everyone can hear me, because the last time I tried this I blethered on for 2 or 3 minutes and no one could actually hear me because my audio was switched off, which was very clever. So let me just have a quick look on the channel, make sure anyone's watching. So I've got one comment here. Okay, hey AJ, can you just tell me if you can hear me okay? I realise this isn't a webinar, but I don't want to be going through all this detail when no one can actually hear anything I'm saying. Better idea, I'll just check my phone. Hang on. Yes, I can hear myself. Awesome, good stuff. Right, cool. Okay, so what you can see on the screen is after checking a number of different options from Warrior Forum and deciding nothing was there for me, I decided to have a look at Code Canyon instead. So on Code Canyon there's a number of different options, and the one I landed on is one called, funnily enough, GDPR Plugin. Now what this does is it gives you everything, and I do mean everything, that you need to make sure your site is compliant, plus the support who I've been in touch with already is very responsive as well. So much so that I gave them a suggestion and they've just implemented it on the plugin about half an hour ago. I would say that's pretty good going. So as you can see on the screen here, we've got all the gubbins that you need. There's the forget me form, data breach notifications when you have to notify everyone if you've had a breach, contact the DPO, the data privacy officer. Now if you're a company, one-man band company like me, then you'll just have you as the DPO. But if you're a bigger company, then you can allocate that job to someone. The unsubscribe, you can give them the option to unsubscribe to the newsletter, which then you can connect to the autoresponder platform. Limited support there, however, I've requested Aweber for that as well. Request the data archive, they can request all the data you hold about them, and it gives you the option to deliver that to them in HTML format. And the cookie pop-up, this is the big one that was doing my head in. There's a plugin that's been going on around called Cookie Consent, and what this does is it allows you to show the pop-up on the screen, which you can now see, and it lets you either accept the terms or decline them. But regardless of what you do, it doesn't really make a difference. Now with GDPR, you had to have the facility to allow people to block any cookies running on your site. And as I said, and we'll go into this, this is what the cookie pop-up does superbly well. So these are the main 6 points. The plugin features, you've got data erasure, so basically the right to forget, and all the stuff we just went through above. Shows you the process, blah de blah de blah. The integrations, you've got WooCommerce, Contact Form, MailChimp, Again, it's a bit light on the ground just now, but there is going to be support for other platforms included as time goes by, as the requests come in. So anyway, that's the plugin. You know what my levels of perfection are like when it comes to plugins and themes and all the rest of it. I've been playing with this for the last 24 hours. It is fantastic. Absolutely superb. Let me show you how it works on your site. So what I've done is I've flattened my site. I've got nothing. I am GDPR non-compliant just now to show you what this software is like. Okay. So you purchase it on Code Canyon. The link is below my little video, pirvin.com/GDPR. And when you purchase it, you'll get a zip file that contains the plugin zip and the documentation. Now the documentation you can see on the screen here. Make sure you look at that. Don't try and wing it, because you will save a lot of time by looking at the docs first. So what you do before you install that plugin is there's a couple of the mainstream plugins you need to install first. Now the first one is called Redux Framework. Small, very well coded plugin. It's not going to cause any drag on your website. So you install Redux plugin, Redux Framework even. It's been a long week. So you install Redux Framework, and what this does is it allows you to see a nice, clean, easy to use interface inside WordPress to use the GDPR plugin. So you install that and then activate. A couple of minor speed issues with my site just now. I'm going to look into that over the weekend, but just bear with me. Okay, so that's Redux installed. The next one you want to do, and the final one before the GDPR plugin, is called Local Translate. Now, this plugin would easily justify a video on its own because it is fantastic. I've never came across it before. There's a way that you can, the plugins are coded by the developers, and as long as they code it in the correct way, you can then use Local Translate, and it can actually swap out the wording inside the plugins and WordPress itself as well. So let's say, for example, like my newly acquired friend and peer, Heroja in Croatia, if he wanted to take WordPress and translate it to Croatian, or he wanted to do the same with a plugin, then he can do that with this plugin here. But what it's used for is there's the ability to create custom areas for cookie blocking, which again we'll go into, and that's what it's primarily used for here. Okay, so that's that. So all we need to do now is install GDPR plugin. Now again, this isn't part of the main WordPress repo. You have to get it from Code Canyon, download it in a zip format, and then upload it to your site, which I'm going to do just now. So I believe it's this one here, I think. Would you believe there's been yet another update just released? Just bear with me 2 seconds, guys. Let me just go into my other screen here and grab the latest version. Won't be a tick. The benefits of having 2 screens. There we go. I'll just call this new for just now so it doesn't overwrite anything. Okay, that one there. Okay, so this one, and again, as I said, the documentation's there as well. So let's install that. Now just while that's installing, please bear in mind that there's no licensing on the plugins as such. You can install it on as many sites as you want. From a function point of view, from a moral point of view, for $20 to cover one site fully for GDPR, you know, I would recommend that you purchase a license per site. There is one caveat though. If you've got a lot of sites, what you can actually do, let me just pull this up just now, what you can actually do is when you're on Code Canyon, instead of getting a standard license at $20, if you change this to an extended license, so you can actually buy the extended license for $114. The extended license allows you, let's just double check I'm right here, so used by you or one client in a single end product which end users can be charged for. Now, I might be wrong, I'm not a legal person, but if you are allowed to buy that developer license, the extended license, and resell it, then I would assume that you could buy the extended license and use it on as many sites as you want to. Please verify that with the vendor, but I believe that would be the case. Anyway, so we have the latest version. Now, let's go and check. I thought I removed the old version. Doesn't look like it did, which was not very clever. Ah, I disabled it, I didn't delete it. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so try that again, add new. Upload that one, new plugin, install now. Right, this time, okay. And I've got WP Rocket as my cache plugin here as well, so I've just installed a new plugin, so I'm going to have to clear the cache as well before we can do anything. Okay, that's done. So, where are we? So on the left side, you'll now see a few new options here. So you've got GDPR Requests. It will actually keep a list of people who have requested, put a GDPR request into your site, which is quite cool. Or you can manually create one. Now here's the main thing, GDPR settings. So you've got import export, not really relevant just now. The GDPR, this is the main section here, and this is where all the power of this plugin lives. Now, on the left side, you'll see all these options. Every one of these options allows you to become a little bit more GDPR compliant. So we'll go through them. So the general tab allows you to enable the plugin. You want to put your domain name in. You can use reCAPTCHA just to stop spammy requests coming through as well. Just ignore the next two, don't really need them. And the cookie lifetime is how long the cookie is on your placed on your visitor's computer before it's removed. The pop-up is basically what you see when you first land on the site. In other words, the banner, the cookie consent banner, but in this case the GDPR consent banner, which will hopefully appear on the page any second now. Incognito would help, Paul. Clicking back and forth, just bear with me a second. There we go. So you can customize the colors, you can customize the text. These links at the bottom, basically you accept, you decline, the privacy center, and then learn more about our cookie policy. So the privacy center is a page on your site. Just going to accept that just now so we can see what's going on. The Privacy Center is a page on your site where all the different options for GDPR compliance are available, or you're giving the options available to your visitor. Each box appears as you enable it on the main control panel. So in my case, I've got the contacted DPO, cookie policy, DMCA, forget me request, privacy policy, privacy settings, terms and conditions. So our privacy settings, we just go in there. So this is what I mean, this is right down to the cookie level. So you can enable the main cookies, you can allow Google Analytics, ConvertFox is what I use to chat to my site visitors, you can enable or disable that. The Facebook Pixel, and then I use Convertifier, which is for recording visitors' behaviour, i.e. where they scroll, what they click, heat maps and all that kind of stuff. So that's what it looks like from the user end, and these relate to these options here. So if I go back to the page, so for example, contact DPO, inside the panel, contact DPO. Okay. Now, before you start playing around with this, when you go into getting started, there's a section, set up the plugin. Now what you have to do is, there's all these pages here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 5 pages you need to create. One for the Privacy Center, which is this thing here. The contact DPO page, the cookie policy, the forget me, privacy settings and request data, and each of these shortcodes is placed on the page. So for example, Privacy Center has this shortcode WordPress _GDPR _privacy _center. So when you place that on the page, that's what generates that on the screen. Okay, so that's not any additional code that you have to do. You just place the shortcode on the screen, and then all this is displayed for the end user. So that's the pop-up, the green bar with the text that you saw. Again, you can change the text here if you want to, and the colours. Privacy Center. So you basically enable it and then choose the page once you've set up the pages with these shortcodes here. Confirmation email is basically confirming what the email subject line and the text would be, which is sent from your server. Contact the DPO, basically stick your email address in and then set the email subject line. Cookie policy, I've basically linked to privacy policy because that's where the cookie information is stored. The data breach information. Now, in all honesty, the chances of a data breach happening is very unlikely as long as you follow the instructions and the suggestions, recommendations even, that I've given you time and time again. Make sure you're hosting with a reputable host. Make sure you have antivirus, anti-malware software installed on your server. Make sure you keep WordPress plugins and themes up to date. If you don't do those above, then bear in mind that there's a possibility that if you do get hacked, then that's technically a breach because you don't know what has happened with your customer / client / whatever information on the site. So that would then require you to trigger the data breach email. Data retention. So this is where you basically set how long the data is stored on your site. The disclaimer form, I haven't bothered with that just now. DMCA, that's to do with any content that someone sees that says, oh, that shouldn't be there, or it's breaking copyright, or whatever it happens to be. That covers that. Forget me is the right to be forgotten. So people will put a request in to be forgotten. They put their email address in or their name. It will match to the database, boom, vaporized once they've confirmed the email. Imprint, I'm not too sure what that is either. Now here's the powerful bit, the integrations. The integrations is to let you understand what a cookie is, okay? A cookie is a file that a website downloads to your computer or your phone, and it stores the information that personalizes your visit to that site. So it might add your name to the banner. It might take you to a certain landing page. It will store your IP address. In some cases it could store your username, cache your username, all that kind of thing. Those are able to be done using what are called cookies. Now when it comes to Facebook Pixel, Google Analytics, etc., the cookies are triggered by what are called scripts. The scripts create the cookies on your visitor's system. Now what this does, very cleverly, is you choose which things you want to give the ability to suppress. In other words, stop running on the end user's computer unless they give their consent. So you've got one for WooCommerce, you've got Cloudflare, because Cloudflare to cache the site creates the cookies on the systems as well. BuddyPress, Contact Form 7, Flamingo DB, I haven't a clue what that is. I have never heard of that in my life before, but it's in there. There's Qform, there's Formidable, which is another set of forms similar to Contact Form 7. Gravity Forms, same. Mailster, I don't know. Google Analytics, this is what every site should have. It allows you to see where people are landing, how they're getting to your page, how long they're staying on the site, how many pages they're looking at, yada yada yada. But post GDPR world, you are not allowed to do that, because in order to track what your visitors are doing, you have to know what their IP is and other similar stuff to that as well. So what you do is you grab your Google Analytics code from the analytics.google.com, and what you do is you paste it in here into this box here. So what happens is if someone visits your site and in the privacy settings they decide that they don't want you tracking them on Google Analytics, they would untick this box, or they would leave that box unticked. It would be left unticked actually, because these are unticked to start with. Okay, so maybe they think, yeah, I want a better experience, but no, you're not stalking me. Yes, I would like some live chat with ConvertFox, i.e. here. I don't like Facebook because I think Mark Zuckerberg's a tool. I'm not ticking that one either. But I'll let you see what I'm doing on the site, so I'll tick this one here. Okay, so that's cookies, ConvertFox and Convertifier. So they're enabled. Those are the only 3 cookies that will be allowed to allow you to store on your visitor's system. The other 2, Analytics and Facebook, will be suppressed. And this is all controlled by you in this section here, the integration section. So for me, again, it's the Google Analytics, Hotjar. It's not actually Hotjar, it's Convertifier that I use, but it's labelled Hotjar code, which I'll come back to in a minute. And then the Facebook code, which is your Facebook Pixel script code thing here. And there's some other stuff that's been added on here as well. Now, what I did is I asked the coder, the creator of this plugin, if it was possible to add some other custom codes on here, because if he populated this screen here with every single possible tracker, analytics, redirect system, it'd be there until the cows came home. So I said to him, any chance of having an ability to add some custom code to your requirement? i.e. I want 1, I want 2, I want 3 more codes. So again, I put this request in, I think it was this morning actually, and then about 45, 50 minutes ago an update was released, and look at this. Add custom integrations. I haven't even looked at this yet, but that's so cool. So I can, well, like I said, I've got Hotjar up here, which is actually a convertifier. So I could move that down there instead, and then put the tag in there, and then give myself a label for what it's there for. Seriously cool. Obviously that needs to be relabeled, but yeah, so you can rearrange them and everything. Fantastic. So like I said, the support is really responsive as well. I'll just get rid of these just now. Okay. Right. So that's the integration. So basically for each script that you have, that you call on your site, that script creates a cookie or a number of cookies to allow that function to take place. When you put the script code in the boxes that align with the title, then that's when you can suppress the scripts or the cookies being created on their system. Privacy policy, I have kind of covered this one, but I'll quickly go over it again just now. If you've got a privacy policy on your site that has not been done for GDPR, then you're not compliant with the requirements of GDPR. The privacy policy for GDPR is much more granular. There's more information about what you're doing with the information that you're getting from your visitors. For example, there's the international transfers of personal data. That's to do with what's called the Privacy Shield. There's an agreement between the EU, UK and the US and Canada for secure transfer of data. Your rights, basically reflecting the right of access, rectification, erasure. I think I went through all this in the previous video. But yeah, so you're basically telling them what can be done with the data that you store or you intend to store about them, and what they can do in terms of what they want you to have the ability to do with it. But a little bit about cookies, and then cookies that we use. So there's authentication, status, personalization, security, advertising, so your Google Analytics and your Facebook Pixel retargeting, analysis, that's convertifier, and then cookie consent, which funnily enough is the cookie to allow the GDPR acceptance or refusal to appear in the first place. And then there's a section about cookies used by the service providers, so that's cookies placed on their system by the providers I use, so that has to be covered as well. So all that stuff, as boring as hell as it is really important if you want to be GDPR compliant. Okay, so yeah, so you set that privacy policy and that goes there. Privacy policy update, this is pretty cool. So when you add an update or you amend the privacy policy, the system will automatically detect that update and it will email everybody that's registered on your site about the update. Again, another requirement for GDPR compliance. Privacy settings, so that's the cookie setting thing that we looked at. Yep, this one here. Pseudonymization. Can't believe I said that right the first time there. That is there. How can I explain this one? So what that means is there's a possibility that certain personal data can be pseudonymized, basically randomized, so it can't be linked back directly to the person that it applies to. Now the Facebook Pixel does this because the Facebook Pixel allows you as the site owner to then remarket to them on the Facebook platform without knowing what their name is, what their IP is, and all that kind of stuff. It's not mandatory, it's not required for GDPR, and in fact the plugin creator has decided not to do this, and it's a very good reason why, because it can destroy the data that's stored on your site. So it's listed there, but just with an explanation of why it's not an option. The next one is request the data archive. So the data archive is basically all the information that you store about a person on your site. Now I haven't actually enabled that just now because I have a custom form on my site that's run by my form system, which is a paper form. It's a bit more granular than the standard request. So I have this in place instead. That's why I have that disabled. But it is enabled. No, hang on a second. Yeah, so that's enabled, just point to the wrong place. So GDPR request, so that's fine. So once they request the data, system checks for their existence, creates a HTML file for them, and allows them to download their information. Terms and conditions, we're nearly there. The terms and conditions is basically a link to the terms of service, well, certainly in my case, the terms of service and conditions of use of the site. Unsubscribe, all my subscribers, if you like, are tied into Aweber, my autoresponder, so I don't have site subscribers as such. I might do in the future, but for now I don't need that facility. That's pretty much it. So for 20 bucks, tie that in with a privacy policy from either SEQ Legal or another legally standing company, then you're laughing. You are GDPR compliant once you've gone through all that stuff. What do you think of that then? Do you think that's a good $20 to spend? It is great, AJ, isn't it? Yeah, I was very impressed with it. So that's pretty much it really. So if you want to check it out, again, the link is below, pirvin.com/GDPR. It's 20 bucks. It's a fantastic plugin. The support that you receive with it, as you've seen already, is very responsive, and they basically want you to get your site GDPR compliant as well. So that basically wraps it, guys. Thanks very much for watching. It's closing in on 7 PM here. I think it's time to sign off for the day. If you've got any questions at all, please leave them in the chat below or drop me a PM. In fact, no, drop me a message inside this thread, so whatever you're asking, the answer can then go and help others at the same time. Right, I think that is us. Let me just change the screen again. This software is fantastic, OBS. If I get the chance, I'll do a similar video to this one as well. But yeah, very cool. Right, okay. Thanks again for watching. It's Paul from Teaming Technology here. Have a fantastic weekend if you're watching this on a Friday, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers. Bye.